JB here, April 3rd, 2025, 8:58 on this rough morning. Futures are tumbling, particularly S&P futures down 3.25%. Anyway, talk quick about the market, some names I'm looking at, go from there. But yeah, I was talking about Tuesday and, and into Wednesday that, it was a extremely hyped event at 4 o'clock yesterday. And who knows how much the market had priced in. I was watching the VIX, and it was almost like it wasn't peak fear, in my opinion, right? So then you watch the press conference, and he comes out and he talks about the tariffs on the cars, 25%. Then he talks about a 10% broad-based tariff rate, right? So you think, oh wow, and then he comes out and says, and it's going to be 50% less than what the U.S. has tariffs, these countries have on the US. So you think, wow, this is great. Futures, the S&P futures, the SPY was up near 570, over 570. And then they come out with the board, right? And I mean, you read some of the stuff. It says that it's 50% less tariffs than the country is charged on the US, but it's really not at all, right? And you look at the math, it's like I could just shake my head and like you're like, wait a second, it's not. You can call it what it is, but don't call it that you're charging 50% less tariffs than they're charging on us, because that's not the case. But anyway, markets were tumbling, and then it's like a worst case scenario, because you look at all the tariff rates, and if these rates 34% or whatever stay in China, it's not going to be good for the world economy, the US and the world. It's just disastrous, right? So market's pricing some of that in now. If the tariffs aren't rolled back, it's not a question of the recession coming, it's when, right? So I think we have a couple weeks of maybe, as things work out, you have leaders, hopefully they reach out and we'll come to some agreements. I'm sure there'll be more headlines today. Maybe that will start sparking bounces, but the longer we go with this, I would call it like someone's foot on someone's back, right? It's just pushing back, it's holding there. The person can't move. That's kind of what these tariffs are going to be. And you got to hope that someone removes the boot off the back. Otherwise, yeah, not good stuff. So I take a look at a SPY, and I always try and keep things in context. 549 was Monday's low. We're down here at five. Uh, well, adding salt to today's wounds is you have Fitch downgrading China's debt earlier, right? So if you're looking for a perfect day to put out some negative one every couple year event, downgrading a country's sovereign debt, their debt rating, especially on the world's second largest economy. Typically, you don't do that. It doesn't happen every other week or every month or every quarter. It typically happens one off, maybe a year or every 2 years or three. If there's an adjustment, right? Usually it goes from an outlook, they call it stable or on watch or what have you. So sure enough, that comes out just as the futures were at least monstering, trying to get a little bit of the bounce. But anyway, I try to keep things in context. We're down at 549 on a SPY on Monday. If you've traded in 2008, 2009, 2011, all these years, you would think with all the headlines, the market's going to just do a flat line. It's going to go straight down to 490 and right to the bear market for the S&P. But even if we do, there's going to be bounces along the way. So, it's easy to sit here and right at the open load the puts for that 540, but it's going to be a tough. Even if we do get there, it'll be a tough journey. I 540 is kind of like the line in the sand. I'll dust off the bear suit, and then I'll be probably more apt to play for downside pending any crazy if there's updates, right? If there's no updates in regards to the tariffs, that's where we're going to go. It's sad. It's like it's up, but I'm cautiously optimistic that you take a look at the VIX. The VIX is at 27 here. We were at 29 in the middle of March. We were at 60 in August. So, does that just mean it's going to be one of these just slow, torturous meltdowns? It's possible. I don't think that's going to be the case, right? The optimist in me says that this is going to get worked out. That to see that chart, and then just you start doing the math on some of the stuff. And I made some memes. I don't know if I put the first. Here's the formula that was used to get the approach, right? So it's algebra. I mean I don't know the function of the numbers. You read articles. There's an island that has zero in population that has a 49% tariff rate on it. And whatever. So I guess they had to be consistent, right? So maybe they imported penguin food or something, and there was a tariff on it, so they had to do reciprocal tariffs. I sense my sarcasm, but this is like my little meme. And if you just take a look at the tariffs, that's pretty much what it is. It's a trade deficit, right? So the company's surplus divided in half, and then by the amount of imports, right? So it's and then the baseline's 10%. So if it was 9% tariff, if that came up with a 9% rate, then they just up it to 10%. So it's all right, just shaking my head. So hopefully, again, I posted. I like to do quotes of the day in the morning, just because it's like sometimes it gives you motivation or inspiration, or maybe or whatever. If it changes one little thing that you do today in a positive way, it's always a good thing, right? So what did I have here? But so the quote this morning was like from an Austrian economist, and I thought it was a good one, right? I mean, capitalist markets, I mean, their turmoil typically is a good thing, right? So hopefully, if there's good things that come out of this, it creates better outcomes for all the countries, and the conversation, communication, and things get worked out, right? That's the optimist in me that hey, maybe there's a positive, you can do a positive spin. But again, the longer this goes without positive outcomes, the worse it's going to get. And then, I hate to be that, and everybody's been saying it, right? I mean, there's a lot of folks out there. The odds of recession, you have more analysts out this morning saying the odds of recession are increasing. Yeah. All right, so that's enough of that. Let me go into some individual names. First I'll talk about Shopify. Thankfully, with markets rallied to start the week, so had a decent start to the week. Otherwise, today would be just a complete disaster. But Shopify, again, another strong session, over $100 yesterday. Closed more of my strikes out for nearly 500%. I held a few runners as a lotto. Of course, in hindsight, maybe I should have got some puts, but again, that's the optimist in me. Shop's down here at 87 and change, so pending any crazy reversal, the rest of those strikes gonna probably expire. But I mean, if it does find some footing here at 88 and change was the lows on Monday. Well, actually, it was 89.24. If it gets back over 89.24 and the market looks like maybe it's finding some footing, don't be surprised if I do some spec lottos. Again, maybe it goes down to $70. And you take a look where it was back in November. It was under $80 for earnings, but it had monstrous earnings. So maybe it's headed there, but I think if it does, despite that, they'll be bouncing a long way. Same with Caterpillar. Nice move yesterday, especially into the afternoon. 1 o'clock hit highs, locked some of my calls out for 100%. And then sure enough, it's taking it on the chin here. 322 was its March and early Monday lows, March lows, and back in the summer lows. So if you can get back over 322, again, another name that I think might be a bounce play. Then brings me to Netflix, and thankfully locked the calls in yesterday. But I was looking for this to be a name. So Netflix would be a name if we're in a recession, right? If the consumer gets hit really hard with these pricing concerns, obviously they have to worry about discretionary things first, right? I mean, if you have to decide between binge watching your favorite show on Netflix or paying extra to get your groceries, right? I mean, you would hope folks would pick the grocery side, right? So uh, the thing is, some of the costs on Netflix have come down because a lot of it's ad driven now. So maybe people drop tiers, maybe they do some step down trades as opposed to just cutting the cord. But needless to say, I think it's one of those names that if we do find footing today, I'll be watching again for potential bounce. The good thing is premiums have come down on the call side. So I had the 1,000 strikes finally. I mean, I could have got the Monday. We were looking great. Then Tuesday it got washed out. So then yesterday was looking great at the open. I finally entered those strikes. They're almost up to 100%. Of course, in hindsight, should have closed them out then, but I didn't wait for it to drop. It dropped quick from 949 down to 939. Closed them out when the premiums started to erode. Definitely will revisit. I don't know if it'll be today, but certainly be watching. Still like GME here. So, if you had told me that the market was going to get tumbled, we have this tariff fiasco, you would say, wow, Bitcoin would be taken on the chin. I mean, it is down 6% here, but that's only because it's rallied a lot this week and it's still at 82,000. So, with that being said, I mean, some of these names, you look at GameStop, it's not down. I mean, the S&P is down, futures down nearly 4%. Where are we at? Why don't I have this up here? 3.8%. You would think some of these names should be down more than that. And GameStop's kind of hanging in there. At some point, I'll look to add some more strikes there as well, because I think it will do well regardless, unless we get into financial Armageddon, right? If we hit a bear market, the market really tumbles, which well, time will tell, right? Just other names. So DELL, I keep looking to play some more strikes on DELL, but now, there's analysts out this morning talking about DELL's entire profits can be erased based on this possible 34% tariffs, and a lot of your manufacturing of finished goods is is in Southeast Asia. So some of those names was South Korea too. Uh, 34% tariffs, 29. So if that's the case, supposedly Dell's entire profits are erased. So who knows if how much that is the case. And again, if some of this gets ratcheted back, I think that'll bode well. But probably put it on the back burner for now. And then on the flip side, some of these ETFs. So I was looking at SQQQ on Monday. I think it got up to 40, 90 or 41. Of course, in hindsight, I was talking to Rant yesterday afternoon. I think the 40 strikes were back down to 30 cents. Let me just see. No, the 41s were 40 cents. So here it is at 41.47. They'll open up 100% or so at least. But maybe oh, I'm in the wrong room here, folks. Wow, I was in the chart room posting my charts. Apologize for that. So anyway, so maybe I'll look for some strikes here at the open, depending. We'll see if things hold. I'll probably wait for 540. And then last but not least is gold. And gosh, I was pointing about that person in the chat room earlier yesterday. He's one of those folks who was getting sued by Trevor Milton for defamation. This is years ago. He was a founder of a multi-billion, I don't know if it's billion now, company that's located where Trevor grew up, one of his classmates. He had some dirt on him, I guess. So needless to say, this guy I followed back in the day, don't really watch him. And then all of a sudden I see one of those Bitcoin, Max Kaiser, one of those guys retweet his bear case on the markets and bull case on gold. I'm like, oh, wow. And here's gold at historical highs. I mean, 3,100 bucks. It's kind of like a freight train. Didn't want to get in front of it. You can see it's huge move since breaking over 2,800 bucks. And you would have thought today would be the day that it really starts rallying. It's not. And it just continues to descend. So I haven't updated my annotations because I hadn't expected to do so, but I might do that. And don't be surprised if I get some spec GLD puts and or some dust calls, because if the market tumbles or continues to tumble, gold rallies, gold falls, double whammy. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. We got 20 minutes to open. I'll be back. Rock and roll.